okay. That's okay. Good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? We welcome you this morning to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name is Xiomara Rodriguez. My pronouns are her, she, and ella. And I am honored to serve as your worship associate this morning. As we enter the sacred space, silent space, let us renew both our commitment and our covenant. If just for this hour, may we be open to the rededication of treasured friendships, a renewal of spirit. May we relinquish the worries and anxieties of the past week. Remember that this community is what it is because of you. So, welcome. Welcome to this space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. We are glad that you're here. We welcome all to be part of us regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientations, or gender ID. If you're someone who is viewing this for the first time, feel free to contact our office or our website for more information. And it is also where you can fill out a newcomer form online. You can sign up for the newsletter that makes you informed of all the activities here at FNN. And if you don't do it, you're missing because it's a lot of good information. You can, if you're on Zoom, my friends on Zoom, you can make comments on the chat box anytime, especially during the joys and concern. You will be invited to join us for coffee immediately after service. Another thing for Zoom people. Our worship tech crew has enabled live transcriptions in English for today's service. We look forward to other languages in the future, Spanish. You will now see the live transcripts option in your Zoom window. Please use it as you see fit. For those of you who choose live transcription, we will appreciate your feedback via chat after the service. And now, how about if we take a few minutes to greet one another in whichever way is best for you? A wave, a hug, a fist bump, whatever. And I'll let you know when to stop by the bell.
Bring your broken hallelujah here. Bring the large one that is beyond repair. Bring the small one that's too soft to share. Bring your broken hallelujah here. I know that people have told you that before you can give, you have to have yourself all together. They have overstated the value of perfection. Or they forgot, because you are the gift. And so we gather. I'm inviting Grace to light our chalice for us this morning. As I offer these chalice lighting words. There is life to be lived in community. There are stories to be shared and stories to be heard. But above all, there is love to be loved.
Walk it out and move mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves. I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you. For you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like crying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you.
It's really, really, really important service that we're doing today, sharing our stories, our journeys of recovery and transformation. And I want to offer this called Telling by Laura Hershey. What you risk in telling your story. You will bore them. Your voice will break. Your ink will spill and stain your coat. No one will understand. Their eyes will become fences. You will park yourself forever on the outside, your differentness once and for all revealed. Dangerous. The names you give to yourself will become epithets. Your happiness will be called bravery, denial. Your sadness will justify their pity. Your fear will magnify their fears. Everything you say will prove something about their God or their economic system. Your feelings that change day to day, kaleidoscopic, will freeze in place, brand you forever, justify anything they decide to say about you. Those with power can afford to tell their story, or not. Those without power risk everything to tell their story, and must. Someone, somewhere, will hear your story and decide to fight, to live, and refuse compromise. Someone else will then tell her own story, risking everything. And so we are about the real stuff of life, of our stories and our journeys today. Sometimes it gets down and dirty. Sometimes it's stuff we don't really think we might want to hear or know, but our stories are salvation in the telling, in the hearing, in the living. I have my own journey of recovery. Many, many years ago, living in Florida with my first partner, we had been together about 6 years and were intensely closeted. She was a nurse, and it came out that she was apparently going through a terrible time and stealing IV drugs from the hospital and was using that substance. And it was, had been going on for a year or so. I had no knowledge of it. And when this came to light, it was one of the lowest and most difficult points in my life. And what happened as a result of that is that we got into the recovery community in Orlando, Florida, and the eventual result is that it helped us come out and eventually helped me find my way to seminary, which I had put off for most of my life. And so during that time, I had my very own spiritual awakening, my very own recovery journey that started in Al-Anon. And Al-Anon saved my life during that time. Al-Anon helped me find people in similar situations. Al-Anon helped me create with her a healthier relationship. And it helped me have my very own journey separate from her recovery, and helped me have a healthier understanding and perspective on all of that. And so I have immense gratitude for recovery groups, perspectives, programs, whatever path they take. I'm so glad that they're there to help folks when we need them. I'm very proud that one of our ministries here is that we sponsor an AA meeting that meets here every single weekday at noon, from noon to 1 o'clock. And folks come and the parking lot fills and the meeting happens in this room, and we host a variety of other recovery meetings from time to time here also. It's an important piece of our ministry. The holidays can be a difficult time for those in recovery, those facing addiction, those coming to terms with substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and so it's not an accident that this service is happening today. I'm very grateful to those who are sharing their stories with you today, those who have said yes. And it takes quite a bit of courage to stand up here and be vulnerable and share of the journey. And so your job is to hold space, to open your heart and spirit, to send the energy of courage and love and openness while that is happening today. And I thank you. I know that you know how to do that because you do it all the time. And I thank you for doing that. I'm especially grateful to Sophie Muller and to J.J. Lee and Grace Moore, all of whom will share their stories this morning. And we honor them, and we applaud them, and we bear witness to their each and very individual transformation. Sophie?
Good morning. This is a topic I get a little shaky about. Usually you hear me a little more confident, but thank you for being here with your support and faces and love today. When Reverend Karen asked me to speak today, of course I responded, as I always do to Reverend Karen, with yes. But then I realized, oof, she is asking me to speak about a vulnerable topic, and in full transparency, I really contemplated faking sick today. For me, this is one of the most vulnerable topics, and as we know from Dr. Brene Brown, that is often what triggers fears in us. And like an anxious middle schooler, I even texted my dear friend JJ yesterday and said, what are you going to share about? And unfortunately, or fortunately, this is not a topic that I can copy. So I first said the words, I am Sophie and I am an alcoholic, here within the walls of this fellowship. And today I share my recovery story for the first time in 7.5 years of sobriety within the walls of this fellowship. There's typically a sort of template for sharing one story in recovery and or sobriety. In 12-step groups, the story typically starts with something like my first drunk, but in all honesty, I cannot remember what my first drunk was. I do remember feeling painfully shy as a child. I remember having a severely alcoholic father who eventually died of his disease. I remember consistent feelings of awkwardness and a lack of sense of belonging among peers and family. I remember struggling in middle school with failing grades and multiple teacher conferences, and I remember my self-esteem evaporating. I remember often wondering, what is wrong with me? And I remember wishing so badly I could be more like anyone else. I remember at 15 being hospitalized for alcohol poisoning. I remember I was drinking on my own and not at a party. I remember being hospitalized my junior year of high school for alcohol poisoning. I remember the humiliation of having to face my varsity field hockey coach. And I remember at 22 totaling my car and having an alcohol level of 0.26. And I remember the humiliation of receiving a DUI. I remember my mom telling me that when the police called and they stated who was calling, that she simply responded with, "Tell me she is okay," knowing they were calling about me. I remember getting blackout drunk at my father's funeral, a man who had just passed away from alcoholism. I remember terminating 5 pregnancies because I did not feel fit to be a mother. I remember attempting to take my life at the age of 30 and overdosing on alcohol and pills, and I remember a not-so-lovely stay at West Hills Hospital. In full transparency, that is a piece of my story I so often wish I could forget. But I also remember having a childhood home that welcomed friends and community members. I remember a dad who craved being a family man and taking notes from Chevy Chase and National Lampoon movies and Tim the Toolman Taylor. I remember being taught politeness and kindness and manners and acceptance and love. I remember having grandparents that I adored and who adored me back. I remember finding my love for theater in middle school in a space where I felt kind of sort of okay. I remember liking the way I felt when I played field hockey and engaging in exercise. I remember sleepovers and loving Christmas and connecting with my siblings. I remember always having a passion for service and volunteer work and wanting to aid in reducing suffering in this wild, wonderful world. I remember when I decided to get sober, feeling confused about being someone in recovery who enjoyed remembering the good stuff and had good stuff to remember. I do remember when I decided to get sober, still feeling like the other. I felt like the other with family and friends, and I remember feeling like the other in the sober community. To this day, people will say, I can't imagine you being an alcoholic, or you? People said it then too. A little bit of advice, just as you wouldn't say to someone with stage 1 cancer. Stage 1 cancer isn't real cancer, or isn't as bad as stage 4 cancer. Whether stage 1 or stage 4, cancer is still cancer. These statements can be invalidating and in fact can be detrimental to one's sobriety and recovery. And that statement may make one wonder if they are alcoholic or addict enough to be a part of the sober club. Anyway, I digress. I did the only thing I knew of as a free sober resource and went to AA. Before getting sober, I was focused on the systems and support that did not exist instead of those that did. I remained victim to a lack of resources and held on to a deep cynicism. I remember a new commitment to being open. I remember I sat in the rooms, a term often used to describe AA, and listened to people share their stories. I remember feeling shy and awkward and lonely, feelings that I thought would disappear as a sober person. I remember listening a lot, and I remember holding on to a mental list, one that I hold on to this day. Community, fellowship, connection, growth mindset, sponsors, mentors, fellow sober peers, spirituality or higher power, feeling there's something, anything, even science that's bigger than us. Acts of service, friends, and true grit all seem to be common themes of long-term sober success. I remember not connecting entirely with the idea of retelling my trauma story over and over again. And I remember deciding to build myself a more personalized approach to sobriety. I remember I went church shopping and stumbled into the UU fellowship. I volunteered. I eventually organized a sober women's group. I attended and began working for Reps for Recovery. I consistently walked outside and exercised. I participated in yoga for recovery, and I found a therapist who understood the complicated dynamics of addiction. I remember trying to get sober many times, but I also remember 7.5 years ago trying a new approach, not doing it on my own. I remember a lot of loneliness and sadness, intense grief and shame. And I remember each sober day giving me new inspiration and motivation, and that remains true to this day. I'm almost done, I promise. Something else I want to remember are those that had a profound positive influence on my journey of sobriety, recovery, and health. We so often remember those that left wounds, and those memories certainly serve a purpose, but today I want to remember those that helped and continue to help heal those wounds. At least 2 folks, are in this very room. JJ, you helped save my life. Who knew when walking into your toe fun class at this fellowship 7.5 years ago would turn into a fierce friendship? You declaring, I'm JJ and I'm sober with a karate kick is forever ingrained in my mind. You didn't know it then, but I was 1 month sober and internally suffering. And to this day, I have to believe the magic of the universe led me to you. You gave me a sense of belonging, hope, and a feeling that I too can do this sober thing. My husband, who is here, you too saved my life. I met you a little later in my sober journey, but you are also sober 13 years, and the person that breathes health, acceptance, joy, vulnerability, and love into my life. You taught me what healthy love is and continue to help me in the tireless journey of learning to love myself. I do not want to ever have to remember or experience this life without you in it. My tribe of girlfriends, Jamie, Amy, and Bernadette, they accepted me in the before times and they accept me in the now times, and for that I am forever grateful. I'm convinced friendship is a key element to one's recovery. This fellowship, this place gave me sanctuary when I was still in an abusive relationship, even as a sober person. I remember often I came here seeking peace and stillness and respite. I still do. I have to believe that those spotty moments of peace and stillness helped me to stay sober. Reverend Karen, I often think WWKD when seeking answers to anything. Anthony is my witness to that, truly. And lastly, my mother. Oh, I wish she was here. She is still alive, but I wish she was in this room today. She's alive and well, living on the East Coast, a stage 3 cancer survivor who was going through chemotherapy when my father died. I do not get to reflect on her and thank her enough. I so badly wish she were here today because she deserves an award for enduring the complications of addiction and alcoholism with not just one child, but 2, not to mention a 26-year marriage with an alcoholic. When I was young, I thought she was quite boring. I remember she was a career woman, went for daily walks, ate in moderation, hosted dinner parties, washed dishes, was liberal-minded, dole out fair consequences with calmness, took us on vacation, gave us snuggles, asked curious questions when speaking with people, including the cashier at the store, which I was mortified by. She read to me every night and showed up for things consistently. I remember she was predictable in the best kind of way and remains that way to this day. I realize now that is health. Boring often means safety, consistency, and contentment. I will always remember her fondly. When my 2 stepchildren look back on their lives, my hope is they remember me as boring. What an honor that would be. Safe, consistent, calm. For me, this is the gift that recovery and sobriety have given me, giving those I love the good stuff to remember. Thank you.
Rise up, we'll rise like the day, we'll rise up in spite of the ache. We will rise 1,000 times again, and we'll rise up high like the waves. We'll rise up in spite of the ache. We'll rise up and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you.
Sophie. We know that our financial contribution to this congregation comes from sacrifice and hard work. We are grateful for this and committed together to ensure that the funds we gather collectively do greater good for ourselves and the world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and hope. The gift of this congregation is greatly received. For those physically here, a basket will be passed. For those of you online, on Zoom, you could virtually text 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hit send. Follow the instructions to provide your offering. You could also send a check to our office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno 89511. But the slickest and best way to do it is donate through sign up for automatic giving. Contact the office and Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization or pull it from the website. Here at UUFNN, each month, we also give folks the opportunity to share generosity by sharing to a designated nonprofit. The Share the Plate recipient for December is Women Children's Center of the Sierra. And I am honored to ask my friend and their director, Pam Russell, to come and tell us a little bit about the women and children.
The last time I was here, I remembered calling you all heroes, and that still stands. No two ways about it. But after thinking you are more than heroes, you are a family to the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra, for which we are incredibly grateful. What's happened this year between UU and WAX? Well, I was here early this year, and I left my cell phone here. By the time I discovered it, Jennifer Cochran was at my door saying, "Here's your phone." Now, who does that if they're not family? We were having a definite diaper drought, and I said, "Can you help us out?" And the next thing you knew, we had size 6 diapers, the gold of the diaper world, and they kept coming, 3 and 4 weeks, for which we were so grateful, and we've now been able to redo our budget and come up with a little money to buy those golden diapers. And then there's the ribbon of joy you do every year. You bring happiness, you bring joy, you bring much more. You bring to the moms. The community does support that I'm trying to move ahead. And what you bring to the kids is even more important. Kids living in poverty have a tendency not to feel that they belong, especially when they're going to schools where there are more than one socioeconomic division. And what you do is Santa came to my house. It gives them a sense of importance and a sense that they belong in the community. I'm not sure anybody has thought about that. I hadn't thought about it until this year, actually, to be honest with you. But that belonging, that being able to go back to school and talk with the kids who got the Xboxes and say, "Well, I got this and this," it has such a huge impact, for which I am also grateful. What do? We help people. And how do we do it? We model our office after the UUs. When people walk in, they are welcomed. They are unjudged. We are caring. We are compassionate. One of our tenets is we err on the side of compassion. And there is also hope. And when I walk into the Universalist Unitarian Fellowship, our family, I am incredibly grateful. What will we do with your Share the Plate money this year? Well, it's going to, I didn't realize we would be hearing so many awesome stories today of strength and help and whatnot. But what we do is we use this for recovery, because during the this actually happened last year. We were giving stuff out so fast that we sort of gave out all our toilet paper. So the money from this is going to help us catch up a little bit so that we can just serve the people. Can you imagine serving 300 women and children a month without any toilet paper? It might be a disaster. But I just want to thank you all for continuing to care about our work, the women and children that live in poverty and that are moving their lives forward through a variety of ways. I know I only have 3 minutes, and I can see that hook over there at Xiomara. But if anybody would like to learn more about all the different things we would do, please check our website. Please give me a call. It's the same number as what's on the website. And I would be happy to talk longer or have you come by for a visit. With that said, I wish you all the peace and joy that the holidays can possibly bring. And may you share that with others to make it even more joyful. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your generosity. Now let the offering begin.
We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing, a fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth.
Now could you guys help me and David bless our offerings? To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
One thing I have to thank the pandemic for is that when I'm at church and I cry like a baby, I just go like this. Thank you for being here today. I started drinking behind the bleachers in high school, vodka, right from the start. Though actually my parents allowed me tiny sips of their cocktails when I was in middle school so as to not have alcohol be a big deal, not make it some pearl of great price. We now have evidence showing that this method of trying to desensitize the thrill of drinking actually creates a risk factor for promoting problem drinking. At the time, there was little in the way of scientific approach to understanding problem drinking. We now understand this element for what it is, a disorder, specifically a brain disorder. More specifically, a disorder of the nucleus accumbens, or reward center of the brain. Anyway, at about the same time as a high school sophomore, I tried and fell in love with Contac. You'd have to be at least my age to remember the minute little pellets making up the over-the-counter medicine. They were pink and white. I think there were some yellow too. The trick was to open the capsules and pour out the contents, then cluster the pink ones, I think it was, and take a bunch of them to get sleepy, sloppy, and relaxed. I fell in love with those tiny little time pills that took the edge off my stress, hurry, and anxiety. I've always been attracted to things that could slow me down, normalize me, and set me at the same speed as everyone else. A friend once referred to me as a fly on crack. Whatever. I've never been the least bit attracted to cocaine, methamphetamine, or any kind of speed. I need something that could help me put the brakes on. My love affair with benzodiazepines started in the middle of my junior year in college. I was home on break, and I was having trouble breathing, so naturally, my mother assumed I was having a panic attack, though it turned out later it was pleurisy. Anyway, my mother gave me one of her Valium, and life was never the same. Let the sun shine. I just wanted to let the sun shine. Promise not to sing at you again. By my mid-20s, I exhibited many of the signs and symptoms of what we then called drug and alcohol abuse. Of my 3 substances of choice, alcohol was the easiest to obtain, but nothing compared to my illicit pill use, especially opiates like Percocet, codeine, and Demerol, because it dimmed it all. And most of all, Xanax, Ativan, and Valium to feel what I imagined normal felt like. I didn't have to feel pain or suffering. I didn't have to feel anything. And not an excuse, but coming out as gay at around 20, I certainly didn't want to feel the fear of being what society says I was, nor the embrace of sadness and isolation caused by being different. I drank to go to the bars. I drank to stay at the bars. I drank to go home with someone I met at the bars. Thankfully, at age 33, I found the 12-step programs. I use the plural because, frankly, I can righteously sit in almost anything that ends in anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Food Anonymous, but I digress. At age 33, I was a little too successful and a little too moneyed, so I drank as if there was no tomorrow and partied like it was 1999. A work colleague sensed I was not okay. Angelo, he was like that, sensitive, perceptive, almost omniscient. He was wicked short like I am. And in addition to working together, we spent our lunches together, laughing like lovers at too many inside jokes. So, unaware people in the 90s could have made themselves believe Angelo and I were a team, an item. One day, the receptionist mustered the courage to ask Angelo, "Are you two a couple?" To which Angelo proclaimed in his most indignant Southern accent, though he was from South Boston, "Darling, I get my sugar from another store," and paraded away. But Angelo loved me. He loved me enough to confront me with the truth of my many addictions. He took me to my first gay AA meeting. He was chairing as it happened that night. I sat next to him, practically on top of him. I was so scared of the people, of their easy declarations, "I'm Steve, I'm an alcoholic," but mostly of me. What would I declare? There were several readings introduced by people repeating their self-accusation, "I'm so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic." Then more readings. Angelo handing scripts to different people to share out loud. As the meeting was about to close, He invited me in his easy, nonchalant way to share the promises. It starts with promise 1. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. I read as if in a daze about freedom and happiness, serenity and peace, uselessness and self-pity, attitudes and fears, intuition and God. I continued aloud, arriving at the last bit. Are these extravagant promises? And in unison came the response, we think not. I don't know if it was the surprise of dozens of determined and decisive voices suddenly and without my being ready, if it was the promises themselves, or if it was the recognition that, in fact, I was in the right place at the right time. I was home, and I was with my people. But I could no longer speak, tears streaming down my face. Angelo knowingly and gently took the paper from me and finished reading. The promises are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. Honestly, I don't remember much else from that night a little over 33 years ago. Angelo passed away a short few years later, but he never went back out there, as we say. He died clean and sober and elegant, and with his 12-step family surrounding him. For, as he also declared in that affected and indignant Southern drawl of his, honey, anyone can be a queen, but there's only one empress. My 33 years of recovery, I owe every one of them to Empress Angelo. Hi, everyone. I'm JJ. I'm an alcoholic.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Grace Moore, and my pronouns are she, her. Karen asked me to talk. It's higher. Okay, sorry. It's deceiving. You think you're sounding loud enough, but I get it. Karen asked me if I could talk about my recent transformational journey. For anyone who's known me since before the pandemic, you could probably see that I've lost a lot of weight. That journey has not been recent, however. That journey has been my lifelong journey. You also might think that this journey was about weight and only weight, but in reality, it's been about childhood trauma, it's been about dissociation from my body, it's been about healing from enculturated Southern ideals about femininity and motherhood, and it's about having been trained to put other people's needs first and really learning to ignore my own completely. The transformational journey began when I was probably around 23, a recent graduate from college at the time, and I was so incredibly lost. I had absolutely no idea who I was and absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. This true beginning of that foundational journey of transformation began with the good fortune of having Philip in my life, who, on a side note, I'll say we're celebrating our 30-year wedding anniversary on New Year's Eve. But also a lot of other really wonderful and helpful people in my life who could see much more beyond my weight, see much more beyond my lostness, could see much more beyond the shame that my weight represented. They could see a truth about me that I had no idea was even there. They started planting seeds in me. They watered those seeds in me. They nurtured me to grow and invited me to step up in ways that I didn't think I could. In writing this, I was really reminded about what a big role UU has played in that over these last 15 years that I've been a part of this community. The leadership, all of you, you have played such an amazing role in my growth, in my learning to believe in myself. And I want to thank you all for that. Writing this, I neglected to mention a lot of, I whitewashed a lot, and feeling very emboldened by Sophie and JJ's story. The thing that I did not write about was how hard those 25 years, from 23 to 50 at least, so however many, 25 years of that, how hard that was. Those were not just seed planting years. Those were not just being watered years. There was deep times of depression. There was hospitalization for suicidality. There was amazingly large amounts of therapy. It was not an easy time for me at all. But with all the foundation that was, the lost times, the watering times, the nurturing times, I managed to grow over those years tremendously. But it really wasn't until my daughter left for college in the fall of 2019 that I was truly able to have the space and the time to manifest those seeds and to help them grow and to let them bloom and to prioritize myself and really start seeking the answers that I had been seeking my whole life inside. So the day we returned from dropping Kiara off at college, I looked at Philip and I said, I'm taking the next 2 weeks off, completely, totally, and I may extend even more than that if I feel like I need to. I went to the store and I bought a notebook, this notebook actually, and I started what I called Project Grace. And in Project Grace, I started asking myself questions, probably questions I'd never asked myself in my entire life. What do I like? What do I want? What do I love? What do I need? What works? What's not working? Each month, I made very, very specific, focused goals. For the first couple of months, they were really body-focused, getting enough sleep, making up for 20 years of not sleeping enough as a parent, eating healthy food, making sure I exercise. I had not really exercised this body at all, ever. Spending time in nature. I decided to declutter our house. Marie Kondo was my buddy. We found all the things that were not sparking joy. I tried to do new things like yoga. I even was brave enough to show up for an Aikido class, which actually nearly broke me, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. Each month, I would assess what was working, what wasn't working. I made changes and modified for the next month, really trying to refine what I would need and what wasn't working and what I didn't like. It was a real process of refinement and changed every single month. An example of this is the Aikido class. I only went to that one class. I felt so drawn for months about thinking about going to this class. And I knew there was something there, a seed that I needed to get, but I really didn't know what that was. And when I showed up for this class and left, I almost couldn't walk for like a week. So I knew that this class was probably not the right way to get whatever I was looking for, but I knew I needed to find out what that thing was. What was I looking for? And how could I find it in other ways? And so I ended up, over time, figuring out that maybe things like kayaking and strength training ended up being things that filled that kind of same vibe that I was looking for and didn't involve me being repeatedly thrown on the floor for an hour. So a few months after I started Project Grace, the brakes came on. The brakes were called COVID. That very first day when we were on home, stay-at-home orders indefinitely, and Philip and Kiara and I were at home and together, I had this very clear moment of realizing and fearing that all of this self-discovery journey could completely go off the rails, and that I could very easily slip into very habitual patterns of self-soothing with food and ignoring my needs. And I could see this very dark path, and I was really scared. But I decided that I was going to make a very conscious decision to double down on Project Grace and meet this moment as healthfully and as strong as I possibly could. And part of that was really the fear of getting COVID and wanting to be healthy, if I got it, to be as strong as I could to survive it. And that was exceedingly motivating, too. So I was lucky in that way. I also used and saw these pandemic years, now we're going on almost 3 years, as a kind of cocoon. And it felt like a very safe and protected place to be away from a lot of the social obligations and the habits that I had that I needed to break from. And in that way, it was a wonderful bubble to navigate all of the major barriers and blocks for me and allow this major life transformation to happen. And so in that way, I'm actually very grateful to the pandemic for giving that gift to me. So since Kiara has been back at school this September, it has given me a chance to return to some of the deeper work that I had to put on hold in 2020. This kind of transformation, at least for me, has been a lifelong process. And sometimes it is going to appear very much more obviously, like to the outside world, as far as like losing 45 pounds in the last 3 years. And other times it's going to be very on unseen levels, occurring inside. And either way, it is no less vital to my journey. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to share this part of my story with you today. And please feel free, if you're curious, to learn more about Project Grace and maybe even how to create that for yourself as Project You. Thank you.
So we take these few moments to join our hearts and our minds for some reflection. Bring your broken hallelujah here. Bring the large one that's beyond repair and the small one that's too soft to share. Bring it here. I know that people have told you that before you can give, you have to get yourself together, but they overstated the value of perfection, or they forgot. Because you are the gift. All of our journeys bring us to where we need to be. And so wherever it is that we are in this moment, we have the opportunity to choose and to take the next step to be where it is that we want to be. Those who are on Zoom with us are welcome to record the prayers of your hearts, their intentions, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your worries in the chat. So grateful this morning for the value of story and for brave, 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 brave souls willing to dig deep, to be vulnerable, to be seen, to share. And so we gather all of what is on our hearts this morning. We gather it all together, leave nothing out. We gather it all. Even the things that we think we don't want other people or maybe even ourselves to see. We gather it all. And we know that it is held in the heart of love. And we have a custom here of closing this time with a gesture, which is one hand on the heart, The other hand, palm outward, extending forward as a way of saying to each other, we are all together in this community. No one is alone. We see each other, we hear each other, we value each other. We are one together. Blessed be, and amen.
Feel free to sing with me again, because that was beautiful. Be with me, be with me, be with me, oh my soul. Be with me, be with me, be with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul.
Thank you all for joining us today. And I got a couple of things to say. I'm sorry, am I talking too low? Opportunities for spiritual development. Watch your emails, please. There's a lot of information there. If you would like to receive the emails, please go online, get the card, fill it out. I would like Nathan to come up and help me with the announcements.
I'm a little bit taller. Just a smidge. So we have a lot of really amazing things happening this holiday season here at UUFNN. In celebration of all the things you just learned today about wax, our Ribbon of Joy is still ongoing. You can find information on those cards on the ribbon on the wall right over there. Please take them. They are for you to take home to carry the information with you. As of today, we are halfway through having all of our families adopted. So there's still a lot of gifts for folks to provide for others, and we're doing amazing, amazing things. If you would like to participate but are unable to shop, you can make donations of gift cards or cash, and our Ribbon of Joy elves will do the shopping for you. You can reach out to Sue or myself. Sue, could you raise your hand? You can reach out to Sue or myself for more information. And remember to deliver wrapped and tagged gifts to Wax on one of the following dates and times. Please do not just drop the gifts off randomly. That is Monday, December 12th from 3 to 5 p.m., Tuesday, December 13th from 3 to 5 p.m. Wax is located at 3905 Neal Road, number 2, Reno. And if you are unable to drop off gifts during those times or need assistance in delivering gifts, please call or text Sue at 415-420-1705. And any of that information that I just said is also on those cards, and please reach out to me or Sue if you need any more information. Also, next Sunday, December 11th, we are doing something really amazing for the youth and children of UUFNN. During the service next week, we will take, me and the RE committee will be doing a reading of the Polar Express in the RE building during the service. Please bring your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews. There's going to be a really wonderful holiday surprise as well. There will be hot chocolate provided and some really fun activities for the kids and youth next Sunday on December 11th. And December 18th, after the service, will be our holiday party here in this room. We will have a lot of food and drinks and activities for all ages. It's a really great opportunity for this community to come together, celebrate the holidays just right before the hecticness of the holidays begin. Hanukkah, solstice, and Christmas are all in the same week this year. So it's going to be an amazing Sunday, a lot of fun. I really hope to see you all there. And if you have any questions about the Polar Express reading or the holiday party, please reach out to me and I will help you the best I can. Thank you.
And for our Zoom folks, Nathan will be on with you for your coffee hour time. You will need to select the invitation to go to a room to join, and Nathan will be in conversation with you there. Sophie has some information about, just very quickly, some sober holiday events, and you can see Sophie after the service if you'd like more information on those opportunities. And Marcy, our beloved Marcy Camp, had knee surgery this past week. She's still in the hospital and will be going to skilled nursing. At some point in the next, we're not sure exactly when, she'll be coming home and will need help with some meals for a few days, so there is a sign up. JJ is helping coordinate that. If you want more information or are ready to jump in on that as soon as we have need, see JJ, and the sign up is also in your email. So thank you for, as you know, Marcy lives alone with her beloved pup, and so we'll need that help from us. So please be attentive to that when she returns home. And couple of special holiday service, Christmas Eve, 5 p.m. Our somewhat traditional, as traditional as it gets for us UU's Christmas Eve service, 5 o'clock, Christmas Eve, Saturday, which gives you time to have a nice dinner afterwards. And our Solstice Taizé, beautiful Solstice Taizé service will be Friday, December 16th at 6 p.m. in this room. So get both of those on your calendars. And one of my favorite Emma's Revolution closing songs, I Will Stand. Let's rise in body and spirit.
I am not alone. I will stand. I will stand. I will stand. I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand. I will stand. I will stand in myself when I'm not feeling strong. I will stand. I will stand. I will tear down the walls and sing a freedom song. I will stand. I will stand. I will stand. I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand. I will stand. I will gather the courage I have found in me. I will stand. I will stand. I will honor the vision of who I will be. I will stand.
And finally, just one last tidbit for the newcomers that are here today. We have a newcomer event at 4 o'clock today. It's a super supper with soup, opportunity to get to know one another, and you can see David or Sheila at the back. If you would like to take advantage of that opportunity, it's in the other building, or just show up at 4 o'clock today. It will be a grand time. Beloveds, would you receive the blessing? How wonderful it is to have safe space to bring all of our broken hallelujahs. May we go forth, and may we continue to be healing sanctuary for one another and our world. Blessed be, amen, and namaste.
Riches I heed not, nor words empty praise. Thou my inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only first in my heart. Lover of heaven, my treasure.